want to welcome everybody and thank you for joining us. I'm Seth Ginsberg, and I'm pleased and delighted and excited to have a chat with the one and only Matt Iseman. So, hey, Matt, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Seth. I'm thrilled to be here talking to you, the man who started CreakyJoints.org.
Well, we're here because you are on a mission to raise awareness and to really help people get better and to identify with them. So you've had rheumatoid arthritis for a little bit. Maybe you could just give us a quick backstory for those who aren't as familiar.
Sure. I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis Christmas of 2002, but my symptoms started about a year and a half before. And anyone who's had RA knows that initial period can be very confusing. For me, I started having pain in my right index finger, and eventually the pain started spreading throughout the body and the hands and feet, the neck and back. I ended up, over that year and a half, I stopped working out altogether. I gained about 45 pounds. I was sleeping 12 to 14 hours a day. And I was pretty much, I'd become an old man in the course of about a year and a half. And I was just over 30 at that point. So the odd thing I like to say, when I was told I had RA, I was actually relieved, not because I wanted a chronic autoimmune disease, but because I wanted to understand why my body was falling apart. And once I was given that diagnosis, then the fight began.
So we have a whole bunch of questions here, which are all perfect, segues here after that, because our community is thrilled to have a chance to chat. And now with, things like social media, this is a very futuristic conversation. Questions from social media, from the past that we're taping for the future. And you're based, where are you actually sitting right now?
I'm now sitting in my home in Los Angeles. I was just in San Francisco this weekend, and I'm heading to New York this coming weekend. So this is nice. This is one of my few times to just be at home.
And you, let's see here.
The fans are already calling, Seth. I'm sure they want to talk real time.
Well, no, I didn't know we could put radio into video chat. So our friend Jennifer Taff wants to know what you found that helps you most deal with your
RA. Well, aside from the medication, I think for me, probably two things. One of them is definitely comedy. I think RA can be so difficult, obviously physically, but mentally. It's just absolutely can be such a draining disease to go through and such a draining experience having this diagnosis, knowing that there is no cure. You're going to have this the rest of your life. So for me, I think the stress and anxiety about having the disease and the physical difficulties and mental difficulties dealing with it, laughter for me was the best way to cope, and still is. I do stand-up comedy, so for me, getting on stage it feels like medicine. I always feel better when I get up. The other thing I think is staying active, which sounds kind of obvious when you have arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, but it can be very difficult. And for me, I think it's been yoga and Pilates, two things that a 20-year-old me would have laughed at myself for doing, thinking, no, that's not tough, yoga and Pilates. Real athletes don't do that. And now having done it, I wish I would have known about yoga and Pilates my entire life. It took rheumatoid arthritis to discover the best workout. So I think that the comedy and the yoga are two things that I can do to kind of help me cope with the stresses and difficulties of RA.
That's awesome. And that plays right into, I want to give a shout out to Renee Jones, whose question was right there about staying strong and healthy with RA when they find the right regimen. What is yours? And that's, so for those of us who can't do stand-up comedy and yoga and Pilates, maybe we pick one to start.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think it's doing something is the most important thing, because I know when I initially got sick with RA, the disease was taking over my life and it was kind of running things. And that was one thing I wanted to make sure of once I was diagnosed and started treatment, is that I stayed ahead of the disease. And, be it whatever you can do, I just think it's important. Even whether it makes a difference or not, I think mentally it's just important that you do something that you feel improves your quality of life when you're dealing with this disease. I think it's you know, it's this buzzword, but empowering to feel like you can do something, because so often you feel like RA takes the power away from us. So, you know, if you've got your regimen and you're not feeling optimally tuned up in other areas of your life, I would just say, you know, whatever it is, start with baby steps, but commit to it. And just say, I'm going to give myself a month and I'm going to try this no matter how hard it is. And I'm going to see if it makes a difference.
It's like the Lent of RA.
Right. That's a good way to put it. But you know, anything that makes a difference can be appreciated. And
Sure.
so if it takes a Lent to get to the Easter at the end of it, well, so be it. Or yeah.
Yeah. I remember a long time ago, 12 or 13 years ago, we would do these event swim programs called the A Games, Arthritis Games.
Mm-hmm.
Woman who came up. We had gone back. This was in Decatur, Georgia, outside of Atlanta, and there was this cool senior community center there. And we were back like a second or third year, and this woman came up and like grabbed my shoulder, and she's like, "I want to show you something." And I said, "Okay." And she bent down and touched her toes or her feet.
Wow.
And she said, "Last year when I did this program, I set that goal for myself that I would be able to touch my feet, and I wanted to show you I did it."
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was
that's great.
You know, and then it was fun. It was cute, and so it gave a chance to, you know, she shared it with the group, and it was
right.
The best way you could start a program like that is to lead by example, and so baby steps is definitely a good thing to think about.
Yeah, and I think you know the whole point behind CreakyJoints, which is you taking charge. I think, you know, that the patients can be informed and do things on their own rather than sitting back and letting the doctors tell them what to do or letting the disease dictate what to do.
Yeah, live by living, and
yeah.
So that's cool because we're working hard to share this message. But let's see, we have a good question here from Tammy Laudette Morse about fatigue. Do you have fatigue? Is that something you deal with? If so, how do you deal with it, especially when you travel?
Yeah, I do. Fatigue is still one of the things that I deal with, and keeping a busy schedule. For me, I try to make sure I get a good night's sleep. Try to stay hydrated. I notice if I drink a lot of water, I tend to feel a lot less tired. And then having little snacks. Sometimes, but the other thing is I'll take a 15-minute cat nap. I'll just go find a break, you know, in the middle of shooting. When we're on lunch, I may cut my lunch a little short, just go sit in a dark room, and just even 15 minutes I found really recharges my batteries. The other thing, the thing that I found the best way to deal with fatigue, which isn't always practical, but a shower. I think, and this is something I learned in medical school when I was doing residency. I figured out that about a 3-minute shower is the equivalent of 2 hours of good sleep.
Or
so I always, or 1 cup of coffee. But, you know, eventually caffeine stops working. Showers don't. So I think a shower is a great way to deal with the fatigue along with the cat nap.
Amen to that. Yeah, I agree on the cat nap especially, but the shower is a really, and cold too. It wakes you up.
Yes, if you're feeling disciplined, the cold shower, that's the way to go.
My high school tutor said, just take a cold shower. Turn it to cold right before you get out every morning. You'll be okay.
Yeah.
So we have a question from the community here. I would say a good large percentage of it. What is your social status? Are you not social status? I meant are you married, and will you marry them?
Oh, I'm single, and yes, I will marry them. I'm looking to have multiple wives. I believe in polygamy, and I want them all to have rheumatoid arthritis so we can understand each other. So this is perfect. I view CreakyJoints as a dating website, to be honest, Seth. So it's great that the people are asking that. It makes me avoid having to ask them to marry me.
Well, if that's the case, you just you just hit the dating website jackpot. So
well, hey,
I actually think, Matt, we should wrap it up now and get a hold of some folks about the reality show that could be the most interesting ever.
oh yeah, yeah.
It would be a lot of fun. So I'd like to
I am in the TV world, Seth. We can make this happen.
talk offline. But yeah, I think that the okay. So the question about being single and have you had a relationship in the past? Tell us about your love life. We're interested.
Yeah, I was living with a girl at my house here in this house right here. She's no longer with me. We had 5 cats. The cats are no longer with me, so now I'm solo here. But had a girlfriend, and I don't know if this was part of the question, but she, was during my rheumatoid arthritis. I've dated during the past 10 years, and it always comes up, obviously. But for the most part, having an RA, I think it's a good rap to talk to girls. Listen, I can't stand up right now. I'm a little sore. So why don't you come sit with me? Whatever you need to do, use your RA for good.
You're right. It's the world's greatest appreciation for just a light massage from time to time.
Right.
It is. We can. I think a lot of us can identify with that. Well, this is certainly exciting. We're glad to know because you're like the triple crown of boyfriend material here. Between the TV thing, the comedy, and the doctor thing. That's like the best bonus a mother-in-law could ever wish for.
I like to say on paper, I'm amazing. Your experience in person may vary, ladies.
But on the internet, you're extraordinary.
I'm great. No, and I will tell you, my mom is she's probably watching this right now, and she's gonna hope she'll be a little matchmaker here because she wants grandkids. My brother had 1 grandkid, she wants more, and she's looking at me like, "Why did I have you, Matt? I had you so you could create grandkids for me. You're not doing your job." So I think my mom would be thrilled to hear this dating website idea.
This is let me tell you, there are several people on my end, Matt, who are now feverishly working on accelerating the hell out of this on your behalf, but on behalf of the world, because it would be a lot of fun. So this is great because we also, I think, if I may, I think we hear more about RA and a lot of these conditions, and with the exception of our own experience, we don't hear about some of the personal victories and triumphs and successes that are so important to keep us going. So we're in search of
one of the things. Yeah, I think one of the things, and I remember this from medicine as well, but in my experience, people tend to remember the bad things. The bad things stick out. And when you hear people talk about rheumatoid arthritis, you tend to hear about cases that have been more problematic, where people may not have responded to treatment as well. And it can be tough. So it's great. The people who are doing well, you may not know they have RA. And that's why, for me, I like to be out there and just kind of share my experience to let people know, look, there's an entire spectrum here, and people from all walks of life who are sharing it. And, again, to get back to it, I just think it's great to have a resource like CreakyJoints where you can find people who are going through the same thing, because your spouse, your loved ones, your girlfriend, your parents, they care. Of course they care, but they can't understand what you're going through with the RA. And that's why I think it's so helpful to talk to people who've been through it and hear how they deal with it day to day and hear what their strategies are. I'd love to hear, swimming in showers and yoga. I'd love to hear what other people have, because it's, I just think you can always learn.
That's our mission. Our mission is to help people cope by helping each other know what's working. Right.
Yeah.
And
it's invaluable. It is. I think information is power.
Thank God for the internet. And so, it's come a long way since college. I use the internet differently than when I was in a college dorm room. And that's when CreakyJoints was started and how it got going. So here we are with fiber optics. So,
Yeah.
and I think a large thing too that is really important to be most acquainted with and most comfortable with is around the medicine, and all the medicine out there and the therapies and the treatments and the ways to really fight this thing. And as a doctor who's become the patient, like, what's your take?
Well, I think it certainly was illuminating getting on the other side of the stethoscope.
Right.
But for me, I think that what I found is it was the same thing I tried to do when I was a doctor. I would try to be as resourceful and responsible for my patients and find out as much information for them and treatment options as I could. As a patient, I'm doing the exact same thing. I just happen to have the medical background to interpret some of the stuff that I think makes it a little easier. But what amazes me is how many treatments are out there and how many more are in the pipeline. So I just think, again, you never want to get rheumatoid arthritis, but if you have to get it in the history of mankind, this is a pretty good time to get it. We've got treatments that can make a difference for you. And I just think, that people can know you're not alone and there's a lot of hope.
Yeah, and I totally echo that, because I think that the development and the understanding, the scientific, molecular, basic understanding of these things, how we react to A versus B and C and all these different combinations, but also interpretation of the ways we can read who we are and how we react to things. All of this means better outcomes. It means we feel better. Yeah. It means we are beating this thing back in epic, ways. And I've definitely grown more and more appreciative of that as long as I've been living with this and dealing with this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's obviously not an easy thing. And I think, what else is exciting too is just looking at the future and thinking about what treatments could be coming, particularly as we break down our DNA and you start talking about gene therapies and things. It's just, it's an exciting time for medicine. And I think if you're a person who has RA, it's a great time to be informed and be involved.
And apropos of that, Janice Zussman DeWitt and Barbara Higgins Carlson both asked, what do you say to people who don't take your illness seriously, especially if you look healthy on the outside, which, let's face it, you do.
Yeah.
Barbara says she hears, oh, you just have arthritis, it's no big deal.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great question. That is, it is hard. And I guess it depends on the person, because a lot of times if something comes up, I wear clogs because of the RA, because I had some erosive damage in the feet. And sometimes people will ask about the clogs. Why are you wearing clogs? You look like a river dancer. They're not the most attractive footwear. I will concede that. And I guess it kind of depends on, who that person is and how important they are to me. If it's just a stranger, I'll just say I wear clogs because I'm into Michael Flatley. And if it's someone else, I will take the time and explain to them, look, I have rheumatoid arthritis. And I think people hear arthritis and then they forget the rheumatoid part. They think, well, that's something my grandpa had, or Joe Namath, those football players have. And then to explain to them how it's a different process in the autoimmune disease. I think, it depends how important they are to you. If they're not important enough for you to explain what rheumatoid arthritis is, then you shouldn't really care about their opinion anyway.
Which is what Robin Nichols asked. She asked how you fight the stereotype that RA isn't a disease of the elderly. And so, yes. Yeah,
I think, we're living proof, Seth. It's not just women, it's not just elderly, that RA can affect anybody. So I think, again, if you really don't want to talk to them, send them to CreakyJoints.org. Let them get informed on their own. Because sometimes it is. Sometimes, sitting down explaining to people what you're going through can be exhausting, and trying to make them understand the full range of how RA can impact your life. So I think if they can go to CreakyJoints and read some testimonials and read how it impacts people's lives, I think they can get a better understanding, and they'll realize the error of their way, saying, it's just arthritis.
Yeah, I've always dreamed of having like wallet cards for people to give out. You know, it's like, here's, you know,
look it up. All right, I don't have time to explain to you how misinformed your statement is.
Right. And I hear you on the clogs. I should probably try those, because my feet are chronically messed up, and it's my feet or my pain in my neck.
Yes.
And so I'm the guy that rocks the suit with the sneakers, but not because not by choice. So.
Dress shoes are horrendously uncomfortable for me as well. And if I'm on the beach, I've got some toes that'll scare some people. So, I just try to bury them in the sand.
I think another 25,000 women fell in love with you. Seriously. Well, I want to be careful of our time here, because even the internet has deadlines. But we could stay. And now that I've discovered this Zoom thing, which is brand new to me, as well, we can hang out. This is a good, fun thing to do. Because
it's always fun to talk to people who are RA. Yes. Well, I'm always happy to answer them. And again, I really salute what you've done with CreakyJoints, and just, I'm appreciative just to have that resource for so many people, because, for me, it's 10 years in, we're veterans of rheumatoid arthritis. We understand the disease, but when you see those people who are newly diagnosed, and you just see it on their face, how many questions they have, how many unknowns they're dealing with. It's great to be able to tell people, look, you go here, and it's a great place to start.
It's cool. Yeah, I'm going to try to make it a standard of care. It's like,
as a caregiver, one of the when I was a doctor, one of the most difficult things was to make sure that the patients truly understood what was going on with them. And unfortunately, you don't have a lot of time as a doctor. And I know we've all experienced that. Yeah. You've been in there with the doctor. You might have a million questions, and you can see it on their face. You're going to get answer 2, maybe you're asked 2 or 3. And so again, that's what the internet at 4 a.m., you can be looking up whatever you want. It never closes. It's a great resource for us. And I think for any patient, get informed.
I love you. I should disclose, though, that I am married, with the dog in my lap.
Look at that. The domesticated bliss.
This is it is domestic bliss, because my little dude is our favorite little guy. But we're thrilled to have you, and you are the messenger of some important ideas and messages, and you are living proof of being well informed and having the right perspective and the right approach. And so we are truly grateful, and it's really exciting.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, Seth.
And you live in this nice, it seems like a Spanish style LA house. Is that?
Yes. Here's a little tour. Well, there's the kitchen.
Hey.
Oh, it's a little messy. I just got home from a trip. Like I said, you can see the suitcases in the mail. I'm catching up.
This is extra reality TV.
Well, this is the bachelor lifestyle. I was on a home makeover show for 6 years. I do keep my house clean, but there are moments where when I get home from a trip, there's a grenade went off in a Ross store. That's kind of what it's like.
I can relate. Right. All right. Well, I propose we continue this conversation again, and I would love a chance to visit with you and ask you another 5,000 questions, because you're the best.
I love it, Seth. Thanks, and I love hearing from the CreakyJoints community. It's always great to be able to interact with the people, and and swap stories.
Matt, you have no idea. It'll be a privilege to be there at your wedding.
I like it. You'll be my best man, Seth.
I promise you. Okay, cool, man. So we'll talk to you real soon, Matt Iseman. It will be more fun.
See you, Creaky Joints.